Now that the boxes are fully assembled and glued, I'm going to take the opportunity to do what I suggested earlier, which was to use a flush trim bit on my router, just to make this nice and even inside. No, I thought about this earlier and I wasn't going to actually do it, but then I realized that this chamber is made very, very close to the exact size of the woofer that has to go in here, and so you gotta kind of twist it, or if you don't trim it off, you've got to twist it around. You could get away without doing it, but really it's a 2-minute job to do this with the router. As you can see, I've already started this, hence all the sawdust and so on, but you can see here, hopefully you can, it makes a nice perfectly smooth edge here when you go along this with the flush trim bit. And I haven't quite finished this one. I just stopped just to shoot the video. But you can see I'm just basically taking off this amount here. I've put a guide in here because of course there's no wall in here to butt up against for the flush trim bit. So basically I've just used this in the router guide. We'll just bring this nice and even right across here, and we'll end up with a nice neat opening here for the woofer installation. Here's the finished job with all of the sawdust mess cleaned up and whatnot, and you can see we've got now a nice clean edge all around, and nice and flush to the sides all the way around, and everything will go together quite nicely. I do recommend doing it this way versus cutting it out in the beginning, even though everything should line up properly. This is just a better way to make sure, just in case you've got a little imperfection somewhere or whatever. This way you can kind of cover up any maybe minor errors that might happen as you're assembling this the doghouse section and connecting it to the bottom. Trust me, little errors will occur, and this is a good way to make everything look nice and neat when you're finishing up this section. So I've spent the last number of hours prepping these for finishing, and I'm not gonna lie, I hope I don't see another piece of sandpaper anytime soon, to be completely honest. There were obviously quite a few nail holes to fill and all those different things like that, just a few imperfections here and there, but hopefully you can see from the video here that it's really looking quite good now. Yes, you can still see the little filler spots and stuff, but when I get this prepped and stained and all that stuff, I don't think you're going to see very much unless you're really looking for it, and so I think it'll come out quite good. What I'm going to do, the reason I'm showing you this now, is I'm going to do these sections before I finish the assembly of the sides and back and whatnot. And the reason for that is fairly simple. It's just not going to be possible to do a real good job by trying to reach in, through this 2.5-inch opening to try to finish this thing when it's fully assembled. So I think the time to do it is right now, before I do the back and sides and top and so forth. Likewise, I'll be able to finish up the rear section here, which obviously would be impossible to do otherwise. Now, of course, you could go ahead and do these without finishing. This particular style of cabinet, you could buy it in unfinished birch from the factory when these were still in production. So, do your own thing, whatever you want to do if you're taking on this project. I'm going to be finishing these, fully, and I want them to look as you know, as good as possible. And hopefully it'll come out that way. I think it will. It's looking pretty good at this point. What I'm going to do, obviously the outside wood area is going to be stained. You'll see that when I get it prepped. But in here, I'm going to be doing the inside of the cabinet black, and I've got some polyurethane satin black to do in here. Nice and durable finish. But I think it'll be a good contrast just to have the inside done black with the outside is going to be a light, sort of a light walnut color. Excuse me, which you'll see when I'm done. But as you can see, this is the cabinet's really so far is turning out real well. Here's the other one over here. I think they're going to finish up really nicely, and fingers crossed. Next time you, in the next section of the video, you'll get a glimpse of what these are going to look like. So I have the first coat of stain on here, and I let it dry in overnight. And so now we're getting ready to do a little extra here, just proceeding on with some of the finishing work. So as you can see, this is turning out fairly nicely. I'll just try to get across the other side here. It's a bit hard with the lighting here to see, but there's that one. There's the other one here. So you can see that they're taking shape pretty well. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be doing the inside sections here. Will actually be all black, and so you can see a little overspill here from the stain. Not important. That's all going to be all covered up. However, there was another little, I'm going to call it an error that I need to deal with. And so when I was putting these together, and I neglected to mention this earlier in the videos, and my apologies for missing that. When I put the doghouse sections together, you could, it's very hard to see here, but these are slightly long. They're slightly long for from tip to back for the cabinet. Now, these obviously, when they were built from the factory, must have been built to a pretty precise measure, and I'm sure they had a form or something to keep them there. This was something I didn't quite think about. I just had assumed that this would all fit exactly perfect, and it doesn't. It's just a hair long, and both of them are exactly the same. And so it could be, you know, it could be anything. It could be just a slight variation in the thickness of the material, or who the hell knows. Anyway, it's just slightly over. Now, it's close enough that you could leave it this way, but I'm not going to. I'm going to do something else here. And so what I'm going to do is I've got, I mentioned earlier in the videos I was going to do edge banding all around. What I've decided to do instead is I'm going to put just 1/4 inch strips all around the front, and just have a solid hardwood front edge. Now, what this will allow me to do, first of all, I think it'll look nice. Once this is all stained, I think it's going to look great. But also, it will allow me, if I choose, and I'm still debating this, it will allow me to do a grill insert here, and which I think I could do a nice elegant solution here for a removable grill if I choose to do it, or I might just leave it as is. I'm not sure yet. But I'm going to proceed with this anyways. This will more than cover that little bit extra, so I don't have to worry about, you know, banging into this, you know, the tip of the doghouse section here and all that. And I think this will come out real nice. So I'm going to proceed with that, and we'll see how things turn out. So I have a first coat of finish on here now, so this will give you a little bit better idea of what it's going to start to look like as we get the thing all together finished. Sorry for my video here, it's tight quarters here in the workspace. Anyways, you can sort of see here now, I've gone with, obviously the whole thing is stained here with a special walnut color stain, and I've used satin polyurethane to finish this thing off. And you can see now what I've used. This is also a black polyurethane based all-in-one stain and polyurethane to do the inside. I've just got one coat on here right now, so it doesn't look exactly like the finished product. And again, everything done here on the back and so forth. It's just much easier to do it this way before, you know, final assembly of the sides and all that kind of stuff. I'll do another couple of coats on here before I finish it up. I've even done all the stuff inside here just for protection. Obviously, it's just a little bit crazy on my part, I'm sure. It's never going to be seen again, but hey, what the hell? It's accessible, so why not do it now? You'll notice, of course, I've not done anything on the edges because these are all going to be glued and so forth once I put the sides on. One advantage of doing the finishing beforehand is of course, now if I get any glue spillover or anything like that, when I assemble it, it'll be really easy just to clean it off and make it nice and neat inside. It'll just wipe right off of this poly finish. So I think it'll come out real nice. You know, obviously there's lots of different options in terms of finishing that could be done for something like this, and everybody's going to have their favorites. You know, I notice a lot of guys will talk about oil finishes and stuff. Yeah, it looks great and whatever, but I'll be honest, my preference is satin polyurethane, and you know, people talk about plasticky looks. I don't buy that at all. I think if you apply this properly and do it right, it looks as good as anything. Particularly in the you know, the more flat, the satin type finishes. Obviously, if you go with something glossy, it's going to look more plasticky, but a properly applied satin polyurethane is going to be way more durable than any oil-based finish. I think it looks great and does, you know, and it looks quite natural. The trick is the application and taking your time to do this thing. I work it around. I apply it on its, you know, I turn the thing on its flat and apply it. So like, for example, the last coat I applied was on this bottom section here while it's flat. You know, any brush marks, things like that will settle out really nicely. You don't get any runs, anything like that. And again, just take your time and do it. It is not a fast process. I don't care what the can says you can do. It is not a fast process. Take your time, do your prep work, be meticulous about it. You know, sand between your coats. Just the more time you take in your prep, the better the finish is going to be, and the more happy you're going to be with the result. One final thing, I mentioned this earlier in the video. I did apply this strip here to the front. This is you know, is a solid wood strip. It's only thin. It's a 1/4 inch thick or so. And when I finish the side panels, this will form a little bit of a frame here, which should be nice. If again, I think it'll be nice on its own, but it'll form a little recess as well if I want to put a removable grill in there. So I think it'll look nice. The other beauty of this thing is on the front. If I just show you, compared to here, unfortunately, when you face nail on these things, it doesn't matter if you use filler or not, you'll be able to see it. But that little strip completely hides the nails. Nothing there. It looks just, you know, way better. It's glued primarily, but I did use a couple of, I did use my pin nailer just to tack a couple of pieces in there just to make sure it's nice and even across. You cannot see them whatsoever. And use my flush trim router bit to make it perfectly flush here on each side, so that when we put the sides on and you know, the this corresponding piece on the edge of the sides, it'll butt up absolutely flush and perfect. I'll probably miter the corners for the remainder of the frame, but obviously in this middle one, it didn't make sense necessarily to do that. So far so good. Again, just the first coat on this stuff, so I've got lots of work to do yet, but this should give you an idea of what it's starting to look like. So I've done one complete coat of polyurethane on this now, all around. Obviously, again, you know, leaving the edges unfinished and so on for to make sure it doesn't interfere with the gluing and so on when we put the sides on. But it's coming along good. So I'm actually in the process now of just sanded pretty much the whole thing down again to get ready for the second coat on here, and just a very light sand to knock down some of the imperfections and so on in the first coat of polyurethane. It's always going to be rough, so it's actually really smooth. There wasn't I took a lot of time to prep prior to the original coat on here, and so it was actually, the first coat went on really well, and not much sanding at all. Very very light sand to get ready for the second coat. But I wanted to just take a second and go back to or just refer you back to an earlier part of the video where I had done some damage here, made a mistake, and nailed through the top. So I just wanted to show again that area. So this is the area where that mistake occurred, and I challenge you to tell me exactly where that is by looking at that video. You know, again, just a reminder, you know, you're probably gonna make some mistakes. This is it's not the world's simplest project, and this applies to any project, of course. You know, wood is a beautiful material to work with because you can fix it. You know, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. You can there's lots of materials out there and little tips and tricks to fix any mistakes that you might make, and as long as it's not actually structural, you're going to be in good shape. So I just wanted to point that out and just show you that it was no big deal, as I suspected, just a little bit of extra work. One thing to point out though on this project, again, there's a lot of surface area here, and we're not, you know, even into the sides and top yet. So, you know, be prepared. This is going to take you some time, as I mentioned earlier. Don't rush it. It's not worth it. Take your time, do a good job on it, and just give yourself lots of time, because there's a lot of flipping and turning and application of finish, a lot of sanding, and it's just going to take time, and that's it. But I think the finished product is going to be worth, you know, that investment of time. If you're not prepared to do that and you do this project, then I would think about some other approach to finishing it, because you know, otherwise I think, you know, you're not going to be happy with the outcome. Anyways, so far so good, and we'll continue on.